Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for another breakdown and predictions video. This week we got UFC Vegas 95. It's going to be headlined by Marcin Tybura and Sergey Spivac. It's a rematch of a fight from 2020. And this is a pretty weak card. We definitely have better cards coming up that I'm looking forward to more. But I do have a couple bets on this card already and some big prop bets with high odds. So hopefully we can make some money this weekend. We've actually been doing really well betting wise, man. If you go to patreon.com/MA Prediction Guru, we've been cashing 6 events in a row and really been doing well lately. We've hit a lot of underdogs. I've been doing good with regional promotions, with PFL, UFC, everything, man. So I'm looking to keep this run going and pick smart bets, make you guys some money, make myself some money, and keep trying to grow the community. And besides that, man, Friday, come through again. It's going to be 10 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be doing a live betting breakdown. I'll give you guys some free bets. I'm going to have some guests on. They're going to give free bets as well. And we're going to go through the whole card. So it's going to be more from a betting perspective. So definitely go and check that out. But yeah, man, besides that, hit the like button on this video. Let's try to get as many likes as possible. Would appreciate as much interaction as I can get. It really helps the channel grow. And besides that, let's get in this first fight of the night. And kicking the show off, just like in the main event, we got a rematch, and it's going to be in the women's strawweight division between Stephanie Luciano and Talita Carr. Stephanie Luciano, this is going to be her UFC debut. She has not fought since the draw between her and Carr, so it's been a little bit of a layoff for her. Whereas Talita, she came back, got a win in the UFC by split decision over Riani Amanda, which was a controversial decision that, a lot of people felt like could have went the other way. So Carr still has to distance herself a little bit and string some wins together. And we're going to see who ends up winning this fight. Because the first time they fought, it was a draw. The first 2 rounds, Carr was able to use her grappling, took her down, took the back, controlled her, but didn't really do too much. And then round 3, Luciano was the fresher fighter, poured it on her on the feet, got the 10-8, and got that draw. So I think personally, Luciano's younger. She's the better athlete. She's going to be the bigger fighter, and she definitely has a big edge on the feet. I think her stand-up is significantly better. And now she's going to know Carr's entries with the takedowns. The single leg entries, probably she's going to have a better idea of how to control the distance, maybe a better idea of what to do when it hits the ground, not giving the back as readily as she did before. And I do think she's still going to have the cardio advantage. We saw Talita in her fight with Amanda. She slowed down in that fight as well. And I saw her attribute the slowdown to an adrenaline dump in the Luciano fight, but I've seen it in more than one fight. So I think that's not necessarily the case. I think it's more of a cardio thing for Carr. I think she really pushes the pace, grapple heavy, and all that squeezing and being aggressive, looking for submissions and takedowns just gets her tired. So I think Luciano is the girl that's going to do more damage, and she has more potential. So I'm going to lean with Luciano here, but this is a fight that I want nothing to do with, because we did see that in the first fight, if Carr can get it to the ground, she can dominate. She was able to do it for 2 rounds as well, which is enough to usually win yourself a fight. So if she could do it for 2 rounds in this one and pace herself a little bit better where she doesn't get destroyed in the third, maybe she could squeak the decision and, be someone that comes in as an underdog. So I don't trust Luciano, but just as a pure prediction, I'm going to predict Stephanie Luciano to get the victory, because I just think she has more potential. She's younger. She's the better athlete, and she should be the fighter that can make adjustments and win easier in the rematch. And Carr really only has one path to victory. So Luciano, to me, is going to be the prediction here, and I'll say she wins via decision. And up next here, we got 2 fighters that I'm kind of fans of for different ways. Youssef Salal, I've cashed on him, and I like him from a betting perspective, because I know what I'm going to get from him. He's going to be consistent. He's going to bring cardio, and he's going to bring a well-rounded game. Cashed on him in his last fight as an underdog versus Billy Q. Is a very easy bet there, so I definitely like Youssef Zalal from that perspective. But from just a perspective on the other side of Aaron's of just pure violence, wanting to watch a good fight, Aaron's brings that every time. He's always going to come in with dangerous boxing, really good hands, and trying to knock you out. So it's going to be a contrast of styles in this fight. Youssef Zalal is going to come in with a game plan. He's going to come in with a clear way in his head that he sees the easiest path to victory, whereas Jarno Aarons to me is just going to go out there like he always does and try to make it a war. So it's going to be in my opinion, a fun fight. I think that the line is a little off. I don't understand how Zalal could be that significant of a favorite, because I do feel like Aarons has more finishing upside, even though his chin is a little bit questionable, so that does give Zalal a knockout threat as well. But I think that Aarons is the more explosive, more powerful guy. I think he has the better hands. And so, therefore, like I said, I think he has the more finishing upside. And I think on the feet it's going to be pretty close. I feel like Zalal, he's going to be peppering. He might be landing some kicks, some jabs. Aarons doesn't necessarily have the greatest defense, but Aarons is going to be able to potentially get off with some of his big punches and use some of that dynamic counter ability and land the heavier strikes. So I think that the fight's going to come down to Jarno Aarons' IQ. I feel like Aarons in a lot of fights loses fights because of just bad decision making, because he has certain matches that he's had previously where he's winning the stand-up pretty easily, he's doing well, he's hurting his opponent, but he falls into the clinch, and it seems like he does it very often. Like he likes to clinch up, and his grappling isn't bad. Like he does have some submission threats, and he will be active off bottom, he can hit some sweeps, but he doesn't seem like the most physical guy. You can clinch him, you could push him up against the fence, you can control him, you could look to take him down, and he'll play jiu-jitsu off his back. And if you could stuff the submissions, stay safe, you can get that decision victory on Aarons. So I see that as the path that Zalal is going to take. I think Zalal is going to try to mix it up with the striking a little bit, move around. But I think ultimately his main game plan is going to be to get close, maybe get Aarons to clinch him or clinch up Aarons himself and look for those body locks, try to get on top and grind it out. And I'm going to go with Zalal just because I think he has the fight IQ and he's going to be able to exploit the mistakes that Aarons makes. But I do think that the line should be closer, because I think if Aarons comes in and fights smart, it'll be a very competitive fight. And I think that Aarons probably has the better submission threat and the better knockout threat. It's just he's more than likely going to get taken down, held down, look for submissions, not get them, and on the feet probably get outstruck on the numbers. And even if he lands a big shot or two, I don't know if he can capitalize and get Zalal out of there. Zalal is a very difficult guy to finish. He's went 3 rounds with even the champ in the division, Ilia Topuria. So I'm going with Zalal by decision in this fight. But I do think that if you want to bet it, maybe it's a dog or pass, but more than likely, or at least for me, I'm probably just going to pass this fight. And with this next fight, I'm curious to see how this one actually ends up going down, because we got Denise versus Carr Williams, kind of a throwback to a UFC 1 fight. Denise, high-level kickboxer, but doesn't have a lot of MMA experience, and we saw in his last fight, got controlled by Austin Lane, who's not necessarily considered a high-level guy. And Carr Williams, great athlete, mobile, agile, and really good wrestler, but his stand-up was a little bit iffy, and he just doesn't have a lot of finishing threats, so he has to go 15 minutes, push a high pace, and he has good cardio for a heavyweight, because he can wrestle hard for 3 rounds, but you'll see him getting tired and sloppy as fights go on, and eventually, unless he gets more finishing threats or can kind of correct his pacing, get better at, resting at certain moments so he doesn't get as fatigued, he's going to pay for that and get knocked out. But is it going to be in this fight? I'm just not sure. Denise doesn't have a lot of experience against wrestlers. It's hard to say if he's going to have that composure to, because he's going to get taken down. You got to think, unless he just catches him really early cold and gets that quick knockout, which I don't think is that likely. Williams is very athletic. He's long. He's durable. He moves well. I don't think he's just going to be someone that's a sitting duck that gets caught early. So Denise is going to get taken down, and he showed good composure against Austin Lane, but I feel like this is going to be a different level of wrestling that he's going to be facing here. even though Williams isn't someone that's necessarily going to overwhelm him on the ground and finish him with ground and pound more than likely or anything like that, he could just gas Denise out and then get him out of there late or win another one of the decisions like he's been doing recently. And I just got to go with the wrestler here because I just feel like Williams has proven that he can beat good kickboxers. He did it in his last fight. He beat a heavy-handed guy that has knockout power that had similar MMA experience to Denise. And so I think he could do it again here. But Denise could definitely catch him and knock him out. I feel like heavyweight, definitely a volatile matchup here. But I'm going to go with Carl Williams. And in this next one, we got Karol Hosa taking on Pannie Kianzad, two vets. And I think Karol Hosa is going to win this one, man. I don't like how Pannie's been looking recently. She got dominated, got taken down at will in, who was that? Her loss, she has 2 losses in a row, but her loss before that, and then she got submitted quickly against Macy. And I just feel like there's a clear path to victory now for Pannie. I think she's had some injuries. She's a little older, and I just don't see her takedown defense being there. I think Hosa is going to be the more physical girl. She's going to press her. She's going to get inside, use that clinch, try to get those body locks, get on top. And if she gets on top, I think she can dominate on the ground, be the better jiu-jitsu girl. She's a black belt. Kianzad has had a lot of issues with heavy top pressure fighters with good submission game. She's been finished multiple times via submission. On the feet, I do think it will be competitive, especially early on in the first round, because I think Kianzad is the better mover. She may be able to use the jab and kind of stay at range and pot shot, but I think Hosa is going to be landing the more significant shots. Her leg kicks look good in her last fight, and she was able to get to Irene Aldana and land some big shots, make that a war. And if she can get to someone that's that level of striker and make it very competitive, I think she's going to be able to get to Kianzad, land the bigger shots, not let Kianzad sit on the outside and kind of dance around her for a decision. And just use your whole MMA game. Use that wrestling, use the clinch, use the grappling. And if you do that, I think it'll be an easier night for Hosa. She can win a pretty clear decision or even get a submission. If she keeps it standing for 3 rounds, it could end up looking a lot closer than it needs to be. But even in that type of fight, I think that Hosa will have the bigger moments. So I'm just leaning towards Karol Hosa, man. I think she's younger. She has the more potential. And I just don't think Kianzad has looked great recently, and I kind of feel like she's at the tail end here. So I think Hosa is going to kind of give her a walking papers and send her out the door. And this next one, we got 2 guys looking for their first UFC win. We got Toshiyama Kazama. He's taking on Charlampas Gorio, and I mean, low-level fight here, in my opinion. I don't think either of these guys are necessarily going to do much in the UFC, especially in the bantamweight division, one of the highest level divisions in the promotion. I just think these guys probably don't belong. But Kazama, really good pressure. He stays in your face. He's really aggressive. His striking is really reckless, and he's got knocked out in the first round his last 2 fights, and now he's taking a year off. So he could come in here and have a kind of a different style that he tries to implement, but we're going to have to see that. And really what he does, though, is he tries to use that pressure and his speed to eventually get the level change or get in the clinch and pull guard, and he just wants to make it a grappling fight. And he's a good grappler. He has good jiu-jitsu. He can get submissions. He can get sweeps, get on top, control you, good top control. But he's not necessarily like an elite level wrestler. It's just he's relentless and will shoot a ton of attempts and has really good cardio, so he can kind of break people. And Gorio kind of laid a dud in his debut against Ann Helliger. Didn't let his hands go, was trying to wrestle and couldn't get the takedown. Kind of just inefficient with his energy, and then got dominated down the stretch, and it was just a bad performance from him. But this fight, he does have a really good training partner that he's always had for a long time in Rob Divalishvili. I mean, Merab could probably definitely easily imitate Kazama, and Gregorio's going to likely have that cardio to scramble and defend a lot of takedowns and be fine. I've seen him do that in other fights where he's shown good takedown defense, good scrambling ability, and then he kind of finishes these guys on the feet. But his last fight, when he was trying to be offensive with his wrestling, looked like it really gassed him out. So hopefully he's going to have better conditioning in this one, because if he gets tired, I think Kazama could maybe steal this fight from him. But in the stand-up, Gorio does have power, even though he doesn't have a lot of high volume. He's going to have a potential to land a straight counter down the pipe as Kazama comes in and put his lights out. We saw him do it against Cam Smotherman on the Contender Series, and he also has nice leg kicks, so I think he's going to be definitely the better striker. And if he can create those scrambles and maybe get on top and control a little bit, slow the fight down, or just make it more of a striking fight, I think he'll get the win. And he could get the knockout early. I mean, we don't necessarily know how Kazama's chin's going to look, how his confidence is going to be, what type of game plan he's going to have. 2 knockout losses in a row like that. But I'm going to go with Gorio in this one, but it's not a super confident pick because I think both these guys have a lot to prove. And this next one, we got 2 girls in the UFC bantamweight division, which I think is just a horrible division, one of the probably the worst division in the UFC, male or female. But Yana Santos versus Chelsea Chandler, both these girls are kind of fighting to be in that top 10, I guess. Yana Santos, she's taken 3 losses in a row, but she's someone that's fought for the belt and fought a lot of high-level competition, whereas Chelsea Chandler, she's just kind of starting to sink her teeth into these better girls. You know, she had a short run on the amateur scene, fought in Invicta and stuff like that, came to the UFC, got a win over Stoliarenko, which is a decent win, then took that loss to Dumont, and then came back on another win over Josiane Nunes, which Nunes was on a roll, I guess, so it wasn't the worst win, but Chandler was significantly bigger and just used her size to kind of maul Nunes in that fight. And that is something that Chandler has over a lot of opponents because she is a former 145er, but in this fight with Yana Kunitskaya, Yana also fought at 145 before, and they're going to be similar in size, probably very almost identical, so Chandler is going to have that strength and kind of size advantage as much as she usually does. And it's a weird fight to me because I think on the feet, Santos is definitely going to be throwing out more volume. She's going to be using those kicks that she always uses, and I think she's going to be trying to use a lot of lateral movement. Chandler is someone that comes forward and backward in straight lines, and you see that when she gets hurt. That's why she like kind of turns and runs away because she doesn't really have that lateral footwork. But she's going to be struggling to me to get to Santos on the feet, and I think Santos is going to be landing a lot more than Chandler. But when Chandler gets into the range and has her opportunities to land her big jabs or 1-2s or the overhand, she has to really let it rip and throw hard and try to kind of steal the rounds off power because I don't think she's going to be able to match the activity. And the grappling, it's going to be interesting. I mean, Santos has struggled sometimes getting taken down, but Chandler isn't necessarily the most technical wrestler. She really just tries to use her strength and kind of body lock you to the ground, and I think that Yana is going to be too seasoned for that. She's probably going to be able to win the clinch exchanges here, and I just think she's going to be too experienced. She's going to be landing more volume on the feet and just have that veteran savvy to get the victory over Chandler. But as a favorite, 3 losses in a row, kind of up there in age, had a kid recently, got married, all that stuff. I mean, you don't know how much her head is in the game, where Chandler, I definitely think that she is going to come in here with more hunger. So it gives Chandler, a chance to pull that upset, but I'm going to still go with the veteran and pick Yana to win this one via decision. And in this next one, we got a great striking fight. Chris Gutierrez welcoming Quang Bang Lee into the UFC. And shout out to Quang Lee for taking this fight. He had a chance to come into the UFC through the Contender Series, and now he's jumping in here. He's taking on a guy that's fought really some very high-level opponents in his first UFC fight. So it's a really difficult matchup. But, I mean, I think most people, when they're getting that call, do you want to fight the UFC, they're going to say yes. But Chris Gutierrez, high-level striker. Obviously, we all know his style. He wants to use his footwork, really heavy kicks, nasty leg kicks, front kicks, round kicks to the body, spin kicks. And basically he's looking to kind of pot shot you with the straight punches, his kicks, and then get you to run into a big shot like a spinning back fist, an elbow, a big knee. And he's gotten a couple highlight reel knockouts, but he also has the cardio to do that for 3 rounds and just win in that fashion. What he struggled with most of the time is guys taking him down, and he hasn't done the best with that. And also, if you really can get on the inside and make it a brawl, make it an ugly boxing fight, that's not where Chris Gutierrez thrives either. But for Kang Lee, I mean, this guy, very powerful striker. He's someone that has good boxing, and he can knock you out with one punch, but I feel like he's really going to struggle with that distance, the footwork of Gutierrez. I don't think he's going to be able to hit him very much. I think that he's going to be getting hit with a lot of kicks, a variety of shots, and I don't think that he's ever seen someone with the striking acumen, the distance control, and kind of the variety that Gutierrez is going to give him. Lee has that equalizer with the one-punch knockout threat, but I just don't see him as a very likely victor here coming in on short notice against a really high-level striker. He has that puncher's chance, but I think Gutierrez is going to get the win here, and his line is really crazy at this point, though. He's like a minus 600. It opened a lot closer. I mean, maybe there's a little value on Lee at that line, but I think Gutierrez is going to win this one, man, and he should probably win pretty easily. I don't know if it's going to be a finish or a decision. We have to see how Lee fights in this one. He could kind of be tentative after he gets beat up early and kind of just coast to a decision, knowing that he won't lose much stock with this being a short notice debut. Or he could go kill or be killed mode. But either way, I feel like Gutierrez is the clear pick here and should get the victory. And I'm going to go with Gutierrez. And up next here, we got my favorite fight on the card. We got Danny Barlo taking on Vernikov. And both these guys, fun to watch, man. They're knockout guys. I think that Vernikov actually might even have the power advantage, but it's hard to say because both these guys hit like a ton of bricks. I mean, it's going to be a really cool matchup. I feel like when you look at Danny Barlo, the guy's extremely slick, and he has that southpaw style. He's super long and kind of does a great job of using his height to pull counter. He pressures. He's super athletic. He's really accurate with his punches and just snipes you, and he has that power to knock you out. And his takedown defense looks really good in his last fight. I was actually impressed by that. I thought that potentially, maybe you could wrestle him, but looks like he's closing the gap in that area. And if he can make it where you can't take him down and you got to strike with him, he's going to be a tough guy to beat for anyone because he has that range advantage. He's super fast, athletic, pinpoint southpaw striking, and he has that power to stun you and make you want to not come forward or just knock you out cold. So Barlo is going to be a problem for a lot of guys. It's just I do think that he still kind of has that tall man defense a little bit, and he hasn't fought the highest level opponents. So when he faces someone that's a little bit better at cutting the cage off, and in this fight, they are fighting in a smaller octagon, which I do think gives Vernikov a little bit of a advantage. If you can get in the pocket with Barlo and he's pulling back and exposing that chin, maybe you could get to him and hurt him in an ugly type of fight. And that's what Vernikov has to do. He's had recent fights, I feel that he's kind of changed his style. He took a long layoff and came back after he lost in the Contender Series to Michael Morales. And in the Michael Morales fight, he went really hard in the first. He was kind of bullying Morales, pressuring forward, landed some big punches, but he gassed out and then got dominated in the second and third. And since he came back, he has fought a lot more methodical, in my opinion, and looked kind of slow and kind of stiff. But he's gotten third-round knockouts, so I think he's trying to pace himself and look to maintain that cardio for 3 rounds. But in this fight, man, I feel like Vernikov, he can't be stuck in the mud on the outside because he just doesn't have that speed, and Barlo's just going to freaking feast on him, man. I feel like Barlo can land as he's coming in early and often. But the thing with Nikolai Vernikov is the guy does have good durability. His defense is pretty decent. And he has huge power in his left hook, and he's good at finding it. So you have to be very careful if you're Barlo not to get clipped with that left hook or the big right hand, because Vernikov has that power where he only needs one punch to change the fight and either knock you out or completely switch the momentum. So I think that Vernikov is live because on top of having that knockout threat, I do think he's probably the stronger guy, so he could be more physical in the clinch. And maybe if Barlo gets tired, drag him to the ground or something. But what I don't like with Vernikov is I just don't know if he's going to find that sweet spot here. It seems like in order to fight for 3 rounds, he has to fight at a more methodical pace. And I think if he does that, he's going to take a lot of damage early, and it's not going to allow him to come back late like he's been doing in his fights recently. But if he goes out there and goes hard in the first round, if he doesn't catch Barlo, I think Barlo's going to get him out of there in the second or third. So for me, I think Vernikov's path to victory is to find that knockout early. I just don't think that Barlo's going to get tired. He's a very composed guy, and if Vernikov fights with that slower pace, I just don't think he's going to find that shot. But I'm going to go with Barlo via second or third round knockout here. I think Vernikov is good. I think he could potentially get some wins in the UFC, but I'm high on Barlo. Originally, I was kind of thinking that Vernikov maybe could be a sneaky pick as an underdog, but kind of changed my tune on that a little bit, and I'm going to go with Barlo via finish. And the co-main event, we got one of the better fights on the card here with Damon Jackson taking on Chepe Marisol. Damon Jackson, he's just been able to hang around in the UFC, man. He's gotten these key victories. His last fight, it was a pivotal fight between him and Alex Hernandez, kind of a crossroads fight for both guys. And Damon Jackson got the win, man. It was pretty dominant, too. So he showed that he's still viable. He's still a good gatekeeper. And Chepe Marisol has been kind of banging on that door. He's gotten some nice knockouts. Or I guess he hasn't gotten a knockout. He got that finish with Jack Jenkins, but it was an injury. But 2 really, really fun fights with Trevor Peek and his last fight with Morgan Charrier. And now they're giving him a legit, bona fide, high-level UFC guy that has maybe double-digit wins in the promotion, but if not, a lot of wins in the UFC. And we'll see if he can handle the wrestler test, too, which is he hasn't had to face anyone that really tried to take him down in his first 3 fights. And I think it's a really interesting matchup because you look at Chepe, he brings that chaos, and that's his game plan, man. He has decent judo, but I don't think he's going to be wanting to grapple or wrestle with Jackson. He's going to be wanting to keep it on the feet, throw those bombs, and he's gotten a little bit better with his technicality and his stand-up, and I think that that's gone a long way in him winning these fights. And I feel like the stand-up is going to be competitive when Jackson is fresh in round 1, because Jackson's going to be moving away, he's going to be longer, and he's going to be able to land strikes down the middle. Marisol is very wide with a lot of his shots, but ultimately I think that Jackson slows down, and if he can't get that grappling wrestling game going, Marisol's going to knock him out on the feet when he's more vulnerable in the second and third, because Chepe doesn't get tired, or even if he does get tired, he fights through fatigue better than Damon, in my opinion, and he's going to be throwing heat on the feet, and Jackson doesn't have the best durability. But there has been fights where Chepe gets real wild, he gets taken down, and if Damon Jackson can get that body lock, get on top of Chepe Marisol, he can grind him out and win or get a submission. I mean, that's Damon Jackson's game, man. The guy's a high-level grappler. If he gets on top of you, he's likely going to hold you down for the whole round and really wear on you. But honestly, I feel like this is one of these fights, and I'm actually usually pretty accurate when I say this, where I think Damon Jackson is going to be winning the fight. I think he's going to be maybe get a takedown, have a lot of control, maybe even get close to a submission, have a pretty easy round 1 victory. And I think that in the second or third, while he's coasting, he might even get another takedown in the second and have a lot of success there. But I just think that at a certain point in the fight, we're going to see him look fatigued, and then Chepe's going to capitalize and knock him out and get that marquee victory to get himself a ranked opponent. So I'm going with Chepe here. I just like the momentum of his career. I think that he's going to maintain his gas tank better. He's going to know that he's probably going to have to deal with the storm early, and he has the experience over 20 pro fights to keep that composure. And I think that Jackson is going to get tired like he has in a lot of fights, and it's going to get him knocked out. He is coming in here on short notice, And I think that's another factor of why I like Chepe here. If Damon Jackson was coming in tuned up, 2-month camp, maybe it could be Jackson that I would go with. But I'm going to go with Chepe Marisol, and I'll say he gets a knockout in round 3. And finally, we got the main event. We got Marcin Tybura looking to make it 2-0 against Sergey Spivac here. And I think it's a close fight. Tybura is still viable. I mean, he got that win his last fight, and he's still a good fighter, but I feel like we know what he is at this point. He's someone that if he can hit that double leg on you and get on top, he's going to probably control you for the whole fight or the whole round and hold you down. And for heavyweight, his cardio isn't bad. And on the feet, he's gotten a little bit better, but he's still pretty vulnerable and he's just slow. Spivac, I feel like he used to be a little faster as well. He's put on some weight, but I think it's good. I still think he is a better striker than Tybura at distance. I feel like he's going to have the better hands and probably throw more volume. He could come forward with some combinations. And I think in the clinch, Spivac has better elbows and things like that. But originally I was kind of leaning with Tybura to win it in the same way. Hit that double and get on top. Spivac got tired his last fight. But I feel like Spivac with the increased weight and coming in here kind of knowing that it's going to be a heavy wrestling pace. Hopefully he's in a little bit better shape. He was defending the majority of the takedowns. Like, for instance, in round 2, he made a mistake. He went for a judo throw, and that's how he got put on his back. Round 3, he did get taken down, but he defended a lot of the takedowns from Tybura, and if he keeps it standing, I think he's going to edge it. I think it would be a boring stand-up fight. Neither of these guys, I think Tybura has 1 knockdown in his UFC career. Spivac has 0, so neither of these guys really are a threat on the feet, but I think Spivac could kind of win by being a little bit faster and landing more. And if he can keep it standing, then I could see him winning a decision. It's just Tybura is going to look to take him down, control him against the fence. And Spivac always, if you look at all of his wins, he's never really won a fight where he hasn't been able to get his grappling going. So if he wins this one in the stand-up, it would be kind of one of the first times that we've seen him do it. And I don't know exactly how Spivac's going to implement his game plan here. Is he going to try to grapple with Tybura again? Because that could be a mistake and put him on his back. But I'm going to lean with Spivac here to come in and get the slight upset and get the win back on Tybura. Just because I think that he could come in here with a little bit more knowledge of how Tybura wrestles and defend the takedowns a little bit better, which he already did a decent job on. And I think the size that Spivac has put on can help him out. And I feel like he's going to be a little bit faster, a little bit better at distance with the striking. So I'm going to lean with the underdog, and I'm going to go with Spivac in a fight that I think is going to be a close fight. But I honestly think it's probably going to go to decision. And I'm going to go Spivac via decision in that one. So there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching. That was the full card breakdown and predictions video for UFC Vegas 95. And as far as my most confident pick goes, I'm going to go with Chris Gutierrez. And for the parlay of the week, I'm going to go with Carol Hosa and Chris Gutierrez. So thanks for watching, guys. Like I said at the beginning of the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Put a comment down below. I would really like as much interaction as I can get. And go to patreon.com/PredictionGuru. We've been doing really well recently with the bets. We got some events this week that we're going to be throwing some money on. So join in on the fun and cash in some money there. And just make sure to stay logged in and locked into the channel, man. On Friday, going to be doing that live video, like I said at the beginning of the stream. So come tune into that. Get, some free bets and another little breakdown of the card with the guests from a betting perspective. And you can get some questions answered there. It's going to be a live video. So definitely come check it out, 10 p.m. Eastern time. But, yeah, guys, besides that, I'm out. Thanks for watching.